Okay, so good morning. If you're watching, I hope you're doing well. We're going to pick up where we left off last time with this language learning app in Blazor, client side with WebAssembly, and see where we get. I'm going to try to see if, let's see how much time I have this morning. So I'm going to set a timer for an hour. And the goal for this morning, I think, will be to flesh out some of the initial tests, as well as maybe make some progress on the vocab section of the language learning app. So let's see how far we get this morning. I'm going to start the timer. And if I end up having a little bit more time this morning, then I'll keep going. Alright, so where did we leave off last time? Last time we had created this simple app. Let's see if we can just get it running here. Oops. That's right. I created a separate project for the tests. Good morning, Suchat and Anas. Alright, so we should be running here shortly to see where we left off. How are you guys doing this morning or this afternoon? Alright, so we had a couple of different views here. We had an alphabet view, a vocab view, and then I had made this to-do list. Morning, Brian. Let's see here. Alright, and then I had started some tests. Let's rename these tests, by the way. And this is actually testing the index component renders. Let's make sure that our tests are still running, our single test. Alright, so tests are passing, it looks like. Although my timer is covering them up. Maybe I'll move this one over here. Okay, so I'm interested now in seeing how Blazor handles events like click events and stuff like that. So let's go to our page. We'll go to the vocab page here. And then just for fun, let's just put a button. And we're not getting hot reloading, that's right, so I'm going to .NET Watch. Okay, and then refresh. What's going on there? Just have an extra. And I forgot that the hot reloading here is going to be kind of slow because, of course, it's just watching the file and then it's got to presumably recompile everything. Okay, so let's see. So I wonder if I need some type of special interop to like console.log, for instance. Let's see. I think it was, I probably spiral on click. Let's see. I looked this up recently. But haven't used it yet. Okay, unclick, and then we can call some method. So let's imagine that for our app here, we're going to be studying vocab, and when I click next item, we'll be presented with the next sort of like flashcard or something similar. So we'll put a method down here, and then I wonder if console.writeLine actually pipes to console.log on the front end. I believe that I read that this was the case, although I haven't tried it yet. And presumably we just pass the method name, which looks correct. Mouse event args are the arguments here. This will take a moment to recompile. Nice. Okay, so that does pipe to the console in the browser. So we have this list of vocab items, this vocab question array. What I could do here is get a random element from this array, and we could probably push this into a service. So I think like on the alphabet page, we had looked at making a service. So let's make a service for the vocab. And then this service will contain all the business logic related to fetching vocabulary, getting new vocabulary items for that page, make an interface for it so we can inject it. And so our vocab service we should have a method to return new vocab item. And I think that was a vocab. What was the name of the view model that we created here? Vocab question. Get next question. Eventually it would be cool to incorporate some space repetition into this. Hey Leo. All right. And then I think that the way that Blazor was working, if I remember, is in program.cs we create our service mappings. So we'll add a scoped vocab service here. Hey, what's up, Method Man, Red Man? Thanks, good luck to you too. Alright, so we're mapping any instance of vocab service here, so we need to do this special inject syntax. We no longer need the HTTP client, by the way, in this view because we're encapsulating that in the service instance actually. So let's go over here to our vocab page. We'll bring this in. Except that we need to bring in the vocab service. Okay. So what if I just say vocab service.get next question gets called here, and then I'm actually curious to know if outside of the Razor page, I presume if we still have access to console in the same manner. And here we'll say from vocab service. And then we can just, to make the compiler happy, we'll just return a new vocab question. All right, so let's refresh. And now when we click Get Next Item, we are sending the result back from the vocab service. So that's pretty cool. So let's make a constructor here. And the vocab service will have an instance of the HTTP client. I hope my audio is better today. I forgot to check, or I forgot to ask, but I think it's probably better. Sorry about the audio last time. That was horrible. I made that video private or whatever, like so that it's not shown on my YouTube channel unless you have the link. So I think you can still find the link from the community page, but yeah, the audio was so horrible last time. I hope it's better. All right, we can make this read only. All right, so to get the next question, maybe we'll make our, we can move the responsibility of getting our vocab questions from our sort of mock database into the vocab service as well. So here we're going to say initialize vocab. And this is going to be coming from our vocab service. And then in our vocab service, well, we don't even need to do that. We can just do that in the constructor here. So for now, this is kind of sloppy, but cool. Thanks, Brian. I'm glad that the audio is a little bit better. Let's see. How did I do this for the alphabet service? Not that that was probably great. Oh, I was just returning the whole alphabet to as in. All right. So here, let's think. I don't want to send the all of the vocab to that view, but I want the service just to be able to get some random instance from it. So if this was an actual database, what I'd probably want to do is to know how many instances of vocab I have in my database, and then that gives me some range of indices to select from, and then I could select a random index. Since we're just reading from JSON on disk, well, actually it's not that much different. But since we're dealing with a small amount of data for MVP, I'm just going to read the JSON file in via this service, and then get the length of the vocab questions, and then a random index from that, and call like random.next, I think it is. Yeah. All right. So let's do it that way. I'm only going to read the vocab list in once though. Hey Hassan and JB Randria. All right, we're gonna get a private vocab question array. Vocab questions. And then here, when we initialize the service, This is a little bit much, but we're going to call initialize vocab here. And then we'll use our instance HTTP client to get from JSON async. And here we can just make this a private method. And then what else? Let's get rid of that magic string. This would be something that we would want to read from config. I can make it a constant as well for now. Okay, so we just use static configuration manager. App settings.json. Let's see if we can just get that wired up. That might mean we have to restart the file watcher, but that's all good. Actually, I should have kept that open. So let's move our path here. First, let's just make a const. All right, if I can type. All right, so we're going to do this and then read in from our questions path. This is Rider. This is JetBrains Rider. Okay, let's see. And for a while with JavaScript, I had been using WebStorm, which is JetBrains IDE for JavaScript, but I recently switched back to VS Code. And yeah, VS Code is really a really good editor for sure. But for the .NET stuff, I do like using Rider at the moment, but I'm sure VS Code has really come a long way there as well. Okay, so let's think about this. So we got this special configuration manager with these static values. Let's see, configuration manager. Where are the settings? Here, this is launch settings.json. Primary way to load app config in web forms is with entries in the web config file. You can use a static configuration manager. Maybe it's in the program.cs where we wire that up. Nice, Brian. Yeah, I definitely like VS Code as well. I forgot about these .NET user secrets. the return of web config. So app settings.json, I wonder where it looks for our app settings.json file. The launch settings is in properties. I'm going to put an app settings.json here, and then we'll move it if we have to. So let's add we could add a web config file as well. I want to add app settings.json actually. And then for now we will, there's our Cyrillic alphabet path. Nice, thanks Hassan. Yeah, I'm gonna try to put it there, and we'll see if the framework finds it. I suspect that it'll be found. Okay, so here, there's our alphabet file path, and then the vocab questions are here. So then if we get, we use this config, this static config thing. We don't need to do that. We could just call get next card here, although I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's come back to vocab service here, and it's get next question, rather. Oh, I see. Let's come back here. Initializing vocab, await get from JSON async, questions path. Configuration manager dot app settings, and then what did I call it? Let's close everything else. Oh, there it is. Let's close everything to the left, close everything to the right, and I called this vocab file path. And I'm gonna get rid of this little proxy method. I wonder if I can I can't do that. All right. I'll have to look at using async here in a moment, but I do not see that I have access to a configuration manager here. Hey, Rondinelli. Web config file may be present. I need the WebAssembly. Blazor wasm configuration. This is a part 2, yes. So this person added the app settings, that JSON file, similar to what we've done here. He created a class to map to his configuration. That's cool. And then he installed 2 NuGet packages. Is this a recent article? This is very recent. Hey, Faisal. And then use configuration builder to add whatever files that he wanted, and then call .build, and then injected this strongly typed model into the app. Okay, I'm gonna worry about, this looks cool, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna worry about configuration later. For now, we're just gonna read from the path directly. But I'm gonna add that to the to-dos here as well. Page, because I suspect there might be a more straightforward way to do this, but if not, I'm good with it. Determine config loading. So we know how to unit test components. Service layer unit testing should not be it should not be very difficult either. Still would like to know about this component-based CSS. And yeah, wiring up an API would be no problem. We did do a proof of concept last time. And let's see here. So what I'm gonna do is just use this for the time being. All right, let's refresh our app here. Okay, so our vocab is failing. Rondinelli, I archived the first version or the first video because my audio was horrible. But if you go to the community tab on my YouTube channel and then find the post where I announced the live stream, you should be able to follow the link to find it there. But just as a fair warning, the audio is pretty bad in that first video. And if I saw, what do I think about Blazor future as compared with JS framework? So I think that Blazor is going to be really nice for people who just prefer, like strongly prefer, I would say, working in C#. I definitely don't think it's gonna replace any of the single page app frameworks out there anytime soon, if ever. Like I think React and Vue in particular are pretty much here to stay, especially given the fact that Node is so well adopted on the back end as well that probably more likely to find people who are going to pick up and learn things like Vue and React and Angular before Blazor. But I think Blazor is a way for people who tend to be doing backend development in .NET to build front ends. So that's just my opinion. But I don't think that it's going to replace the existing front-end JavaScript frameworks. All right, so let's see what's going on here. I wonder if it's getting hung up on this. For the moment, I'm going to do this. This is super hacky, but I'm going to just get it working first. Maybe it's not finding the data. Oh, I'm an idiot. Faisal, I'm interested. Do you prefer, or have you used Blazor, I should ask, or any other front-end framework, like a more typical JavaScript framework that you prefer? Go to the vocab page here and get next card is called. All right, let's do the following. I think I haven't really been focused here. Okay. Hey, Gino. And Faisal says that they preferred to start to learn Angular. Yeah, that's awesome. I also started front-end development with Angular as well, and yeah, I think it's a great framework. Okay, so we fixed that. The service layer is just a complete gnarly mess, but it's fine for the moment. When we click next item, rather than do this, let's do var random question AKT. So you've used Blazor, but you moved to Angular. Nice. I think that TypeScript is really fantastic as well, especially for larger projects or projects where you're working with other people. Just having types as a means of communication. And all right, so random question is random.next. I think it's next, and then I think we provide the vocab questions.length or .count, which is we need to make that static. Yeah, and then I can't modify, or I can't await this either. Can you make a new random? Okay. And this is a random index, and then we can return vocab questions at some random index. Oh, sure, Faisal. Let's see. What was your question? I'm not sure if I see your question, Faisal. If the question was about how I think Blazor compares as the future of, or what the future of Blazor looks like in comparison to JavaScript frameworks. Like I think that the JavaScript frameworks are still going to be much more popular, at least in the near term, but probably just in general. All right. And then just for fun, let's see if I've broken anything. Okay, cool. So we are getting a question. Let's see if we can just log out what the question is. So that's promising. Okay, cool. So we're getting our questions out, which are just taking the form of vocab at this time. So what we'll do is we'll make a private vocab question, current question, and then we'll set the current question to this next question. And then up here, what we'll do is, let's make a div class card. And then in here, let's make a p tag of class vocab question. That will say current question. And then we'll use some, for the time being, we'll use some globally defined CSS to set that up. Since I'm not initializing current question with any value, this is going to not work. So when we initialize, we will also get the next question. Okay, so obviously that's getting the whole question, so let's get the question dot question. Also, it looks like there's already some card class because this can see some styling already applied. Let's call this question card, by the way. And then we'll make a p class question body. And writer, for everything it is good at, it is not very good at parsing Razor, it looks like. Either that or the Vim plugin doesn't like to auto format it properly. Okay, cool. Next item is, in fact, getting the next item from our vocab list, which is really small. It's just 3 words. Spasiba, Privyet, and... oh, can't remember that one. What is that one? I think that's like no problem or you're welcome. Oh yeah, пожалуйста. Wow, my Russian learning is not going very well if I can't read пожалуйста yet. Alright, пожалуйста. Привет. Спасибо. Okay, so let's style this up a little bit. First of all, we can also get rid of this table, or we can put it into like a different view. Probably, I think putting it into a different view just for reference might be a neat idea. But let's do a few things. Also, maybe we could make the service a little bit more intelligent, and if it's getting a result back, which is going to be the same, like see if I click next item a bunch of times, sometimes I'm getting the same vocab back. And eventually I'd like to replace this with spaced repetition so that we get the vocab that we haven't learned yet more often. Alright, so let's maintain state on what the vocab question is that we're currently using. Private vocab question, current question, and then when we get the next question, I know that this is totally hacky. I don't need to be querying for all of the questions every time. And I also don't need any random RNG every time, but for the time being, we're going to set current question is equal to vocab questions at random index, And then we'll return the current question. And then what we'll do is actually even slightly better would be to keep track of the current index. That way we don't need to, well, it doesn't really matter, but that way we don't need to do a lookup to compare the question. We can do it a step earlier and also do the int current index. I'll clean all of this up once I kind of figure out the implementation that I want. So we'll say current index is equal to this, and if index is equal to current index, or we could do like while index is equal to current index. I'm not gonna, how much time do I have? I don't have enough time to be messing around this much. I'm just going to leave it for now. Let's see. I would also like to extract this async method in Constructor C#. Apparently I've looked this up before. I see. Careful about thread blocking. So this guy is using a static async, basically a static factory for his class. Hey, I'm glad to hear that the sound is better this time. So we have a little factory here this time, which would be like oh, well, okay, we can just return the instance, and then his idea was to make this async initialize, and then do anything that we want to do in here, which for instance might be like set the vocab questions. And yeah, this can obviously be private. And so now we have a static factory for our vocab service. But yes, there is a chance to get the same question with this method, and I should fix that just to check to see, like by tracking if the index is going to be the same as like as some current index state that we might track. That's a really good point. Yep, because you can see sometimes I'm clicking here and we get the same word. I still have the same 3 words here. Privet. Why can I never? Oh man. Пожалуйста. Спасибо. I always have to go back to this one. Пожалуйста. Пожалуйста. I need to learn some more words. Yeah, with the random index, we just need to check whether or not the random index that gets returned is the same as some memoized index from the previous time that we got it. And if it's the same, we just recurse until we get a new number. But that's an excellent point. Also, I can see I'm running out of time here. I'm just gonna go, what time is it? It's 11 a.m. here where I am. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna reset the clock to an hour. If I can. I don't know what the point of a timer is if I'm just gonna reset it, but there's that. Пожалуйста. Спасибо. See you later, Faisal. Thanks for stopping by. This is my first time messing with Blazor. I am totally struggling to function this morning. Let's see. My first impression is that it is pretty impressive. Like the whole WebAssembly concept is really impressive. I think that that's cool in general, like for other programming languages as well. I think that it's probably not going to replace any of the JavaScript front-end stuff anytime soon, or ever really, but I think it's really nice for people who just want to work in C# to be able to build front-end applications without needing to spend the time to learn JavaScript or TypeScript or any of those languages with React or Angular or Vue. So I think it's good in that regard. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be replacing any of the client-side JavaScript anytime soon. Yeah, good question. Why do I think it's not going to replace the other frameworks? It's just that the other frameworks have such high adoption and active communities. And that's nothing against Blazor. I think it's really impressive what Blazor has been able to do, and in particular with the WebAssembly stuff, like building off of the client side stuff in WebAssembly. It's just that things like React and Vue and Angular already have such enormous and active communities. And JavaScript just remains such a popular language, both front end and back end, that I don't think that I think it would take a lot for anything to come along and actually be a strong contender in the near term. To compare with Angular or Vue, does it have any minuses? I think it just kind of like depends on your preference. I would probably prefer to use Vue, for instance, if I'm building front-end apps. I really like the Vue community, and I like the framework as a whole. That said, in terms of like specific minuses, I probably don't know Blazor well enough to be able to comment on that. I do like types, but again, we could use TypeScript with any of the front-end frameworks in JavaScript, or that would otherwise be in JavaScript. So yeah, it's hard to say yet, but like I said, I think that Blazor is going to be really nice for people who are really comfortable with writing C# and using .NET. Okay, I haven't been completely focused, but let's see once this reloads if we are. Okay, so let's see. WebAssembly. We have a null ref in get random index. Oh, probably vocab questions is null at first. Oh, I'm not using the static factory that we created either. Also, I probably went way too out of my way to get that working. And then, yeah, this was kind of a mess. Wow. It is hard to code and talk. I don't want to do anything like that, but that's what I'm doing here. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to vastly simplify for the time being and work on the async stuff a bit later. I could leave the static factories, but I'm going to remove those for the time being as well. Nice, Brian. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. It is really easy to integrate React into .NET. I think that's probably one of the real strengths of React, just being relatively easy to integrate into existing projects. I realize I'm going back and forth on this and should really give it more thought. At the moment, I am going to do it like this. This is the worst thing ever, but it will move us forward for the time being. Alright, well that is reloading as well. Let's make this into an actual card. So I am setting a class on it called question card with a paragraph tag in it, question body. So let's go into our CSS, and where is the globally defined CSS for this project? app.css. Like I mentioned, I would like to have CSS local to components, but that's okay. So here we're going to do question card, and then question body. It'd also be nice to wire up some Sass here as well. Let's just start with a simple card. We'll make a width. I'm not going to do any responsive stuff right away. 640 pixels, height 640 pixels. Let's make it 800. And since it's, all right, so that's pretty gnarly looking. Let's see. So we can see that that recursive call does get called a bunch when the index is the same. But my logic is messed up, so I need to fix that. All right, but for the time being, we'll do this. Let's just set a border radius of, I realize I'm mixing types here. Mixing units here, which I should not be doing. And let's get like a material card CSS, box shadow. So let's lift the box shadow from this one, card 1 box shadow. Don't worry about, I'm not going to worry about transition, but okay, and then I'm going to get rid of the border itself. And then I'm going to set a margin auto. And I should probably make that a div on the inside there for the time being. And then maybe over on the CSS. Oh, no good with CSS, really. Yeah, I will definitely make more tutorials similar to that library app and forum courses. Those definitely take a long time to make. So yeah, I do have plans to do that. Right now I'm also focusing on building a set of courses for my productive dev project. Which I hope you'll enjoy. Some of those will contain free content, but more to come on that a bit later. But to answer your question, yeah, I'll definitely be making more apps and more videos about this in the future. These live streams here are just to kind of do something different, but once this app is complete as well and cleaned up and working in the way that I like, and I'll be making a tutorial for this app as well in a much more refined format. All right, let's make our, that's going to be way too big. Let's make our vocab size something like this. Привет. Пожалуйста. Привет. Спасибо. All right, so I need to increase the size of my vocabulary, that's for sure. Let's come back to our vocab service here. Let's see what the syntax is here for running a task. Wait, that doesn't look familiar. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Let's try this one. That is a lot of words. And then finally, assuming that that works like I expect, so we run the task in the constructor. And I suspect that when we get here, vocab questions is null. If that's the case, we need to wait for vocab questions to exist before getting the next. But that is not the case here. Let's see. We got another null ref. Yeah, but I don't need to await anything there. Task run constructor. Is there a just get from? So what I want to do is I want to be able to invoke get from JSON async in the constructor of the vocab service so that I only need to do this once. I could just memoize. I could do that. I could do something like this. Parameters are set before on-initialized async. You have to override on-parameter async. That's interesting. What I could do here is I could say if vocab questions is null, we do this. Otherwise, it's like a getter. Whoa, there's a null coalescing assignment? This is actually new to me. Null coalescing assignment. Oh, this is C#8. That's interesting. That is going to take me some getting used to reading, but I like it. No, I don't know if I do like it, but it's interesting. Okay, so get all vocab. So we've kind of memoized our vocab questions. All right, I'm gonna make everything async. Still getting a null ref somewhere? Oh, if vocab is equal to null. Hey Nick, the previous live stream is on my community tab. I made it a private video, or not a private, but an unlisted video, just because the sound was so horrible. But let's see if I can find that. You should be able to go to my community tab on my YouTube page and then look for the announcement for the first video. But my apologies ahead of time for how horrible the sound quality is on that one. Okay, so that's looking okay, except for some reason we have our old CSS back. I wonder if there's some weird caching issue with the CSS. Thanks for stopping by, Gino. Okay, there's our CSS. Things are working a little bit better. Still want to fix the logic a little bit with the random, with the RNG. Rushab, yes, that's an excellent idea using breakpoints. I am just running from the terminal, but I could be running in debug mode with breakpoints. That would be wise. Let's update our vocab. Russian beginner vocabulary. Russian phrases and words for travelers. 100 core Russian words. Alright, I don't want to watch video. Man. So much. So much. I sleep for 8 hours every day. Bezadnoi minuti polnach. The wall clock is hanging on the wall. I don't think I've ever said that in English, but good to know. The programmer used the computer. I like this one. Programmist использовал computer. Probably did not say that at all correctly.
Программист использовал компьютер. Программист использовал компьютер.
Programmist использовал computer. All right, we're going to copy this. And let's try to figure out how we would show the answers. Hey, Edward, thanks. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so in our sample data, we have these vocab questions. Let's add another one. And the answer is the programmer used the computer, I believe. Programmer used the computer. Is it difficult to find a job in the United States as a software developer? I think it depends a lot on where you live in the US. If you're somewhere like on the coast, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, generally speaking, it's just going to be, there's going to be more opportunities for programming jobs, I think. Definitely places, you know, big cities, Seattle, Silicon Valley area. And then on the East Coast, New York, Boston, any of these places, going to be easier to find a programming job, I think, just because there's going to be more jobs in general or more companies in general looking for programmers. I live in the Midwest, and I think there are fewer opportunities for programming here, but in general, I don't think it's so hard to find a job as a programmer. So I think that we're pretty fortunate in that regard. Yeah. Okay. Especially for web development. I think most of the jobs I see are web development specifically. All right, you guys, suggest some place where I can find some Russian vocabulary. Top Russian words you definitely need to learn. Most common Russian words. I'd like to learn some phrases. Yeah, this is really good, but I'd also like to learn some phrases. Let's put like 3 or 4 more here. Brian, that's a good point. Telecommuting is definitely a thing now. Yeah, so I agree with that. I didn't do that for some reason. Let's put to speak. One of the things that really... hey, what's up, Sunil? One of the things that really intimidates me about the Russian language is the grammar compared to English. I know that English grammar is supposed to be difficult for people who speak Russian natively, but likewise, I think people who speak English natively, myself included, I'm really intimidated by the complexity of Russian grammar, like the declensions and everything like that. Probably shouldn't even worry about it. I don't even know basic vocab yet, but... just something that I would note. Dog. I think I just need to learn the Cyrillic alphabet first. Also, I'm trusting the internet here for my vocabulary. So you guys can let me know if anything that I'm finding here is not correct. You probably can't hear my headphones. Da, I know that one. Smile. How many more do I have here? I've got like 5 more. What is smile?
Улыбаться.
Улыбаться.
Кошка.
Кошка. Cat. I have 1 cat. My first interview, that's an excellent question. I actually started out as a mechanical engineer. So I spent 7 years as a mechanical engineer. And then, due to certain circumstances, I moved. And the place that I moved to didn't actually have any mechanical engineering jobs, but I had been doing some web development on the side just for fun. And so I had been doing a little bit of Rails and a little bit of Android development. Really, really rough, like just teaching myself just enough to build a few things. And so I decided that when I moved, since I couldn't find a job as a mechanical engineer anymore, I applied for a job as a software engineer. And yeah, so my first interview was a little tough, I would say, for me. I mean, looking back, it was actually a pretty basic interview. My first interview, I had to do FizzBuzz, which I know a lot of people have to do. That's the one that's like divisible by 3, divisible by 5, print fizz or buzz, and if it's divisible by 15, print FizzBuzz, otherwise print the number. There were some questions on there about basic OO stuff, like what's an interface? I've had some other questions that were like early on in my career, my first or second job, that were like, one was like, how would you model a bookshelf using object-oriented design? Oh gosh, I've been pasting the Russian, but I don't know what I've been pasting. I think this one is how are you? I don't know if y'all can see very well. All right, what is this one? If anyone in the chat is able to read this, would you be able to translate that for me? Or I can just go to Google Translate as well. Welcome. Dobro пожаловать. That's probably incorrect.
Добро пожаловать.
Пожаловать. Добро пожаловать.
Добро пожаловать.
Oh, that's cool that you learned some Japanese. I learned a little bit of Japanese. It is super difficult in terms of grammar. I agree. Did you learn it just for fun? 私は日本語わかります。少しわかります。That's horrible. My Japanese is not good. What is this one?
Не стоит.
Не стоит.
Удачи.
Уdachi. Udachi. I like that one. Udachi.
Удачи.
Watashi wa nihongo wo wakarimasu. Demo mada jouzu ji arimasen. That's about all I remember. I have a friend who moved to Japan after college. We grew up together, but What's this one? Good luck? Yeah, good luck. So this has been the incredibly boring part of the project, but now we have some additional vocabulary. Probably need to restart the server. For some reason, I'm not getting my new vocab in yet. Should probably make a commit here as well. Why are we not seeing the new vocabulary? Wonder if there's some caching going on. I suspect that there is. Interesting. Why don't we see the new vocab? Let's go to the vocab service here. We are reading from sample data, vocab questions. It is valid. Where are my sources here? What happens if I load this in Firefox, just out of curiosity? Okay, in Firefox, I do get the vocab, so it's just a caching issue for some reason. Nice, Brian. Duolingo, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that app. It does do that too. I know what you mean. I came back to Duolingo after taking like a year off from doing it, and as soon as you log back in and start studying, like every day I get like an email now. All right, so we get our vocab. Chrome is caching my stuff. And we have formatting problems when we have larger strings. So first of all, what's up with Chrome? Chrome caching this JSON data. But also I gotta fix the formatting there. Chrome WASM cache. Nick is asking, what's the best option for me, Angular, Vue, or something else? Do you plan on mobile app development courses? For me, I really do enjoy using Vue. I would say out of all the front end frameworks, Vue is probably would be my current choice. And do I plan on doing mobile app development courses? To be honest, I have never built anything significant for mobile. I've played with Ionic a little bit, which I did enjoy. If I was going to do more mobile development, I'd probably focus on native app development. But I really haven't done much of that yet, to be honest. So probably be some time before I would ever create a mobile project as part of a course. And Rushab is asking me, why did I choose to work on such a project? Didn't I think to start any real-world project to work on so most of the actual real-world scenarios would cover? Well, one of the difficult things about making videos about development is choosing what types of projects to really demo and work on, while keeping things simple enough that I can make some type of progress on them in the course of a couple of hours over the course of a couple of videos. So, like, otherwise, right, if it was like a really real world complex application, I have made videos which I think are more along the lines of something more production level, if you will, but those take a lot of time, and yeah, so that's just part of it. It's just kind of trying to choose something simple enough that we can do together for a few hours, as opposed to doing something so particularly complex, although it's a good point. There's a balance, I think. So first I want to figure out how to clear this cache so that I get the refresh JSON data. I'm going to clear my cached files. I suspect that there is a cached JSON file in here. Nice. All right, so now we have our improved vocabulary list, and we have a damaged looking bit of CSS on the card. What is my most often, what problems do I meet the most often that I have to solve in my primary job? That's a really good question. The types of problems that I come across in my primary job they vary, right? So sometimes I'm working on just things like bug fixes, right? But in production systems, they're going to be a lot more involved than, for instance, what we're looking at here. So oftentimes what's required is some domain knowledge of the application itself, not domain knowledge, but just knowledge of the behavior of the application itself, which might be comprised of a whole bunch of different parts. And then understanding enough about how they work together and just how changes that you might make in one place affect the overall behavior of the system, are going to change as you do bug fixes. So if I'm doing bug fixes, that's often sorry, I lost internet there for a second. What kind of application do I make for my job, and what's the most interesting project on which I've worked? All right, so is answer. Most recently, I've worked at a healthcare company that makes sensors that people put on their inhalers for asthma. So the way that worked is I worked on the platform team there most recently, and so I worked on an API that was written mostly in Node, but also contained a lot of different services written in a combination of things like Node and Python, Java, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting application, neat mix of hardware and software. And what's the most interesting project on which I've worked? For that, I would say I worked at a search startup that I found to be super interesting, learning a lot about information retrieval and hosted search. Yeah, it wasn't. It was really interesting. It was really fast-paced work, startup atmosphere. Again, a mix of Python and Java on that one with the React front end. But for me, the problems were really interesting because they were performance related, and so I was working mostly on the back end, trying to improve the performance of this search application that was dealing with not huge amounts of data, not like many terabytes of data, but terabyte level data. Presented some interesting challenges. Yeah, obviously default value for a bool is false. And then here what we can say is if is answer, we'll assign toggle text to be hide answer, else toggle text is show answer, and then we could make this a ternary, which I think would just be like if is answer hide answer what am I doing? Toggle text I wonder if there's a way like to do a computed property similar to Vue. Advanced scenarios. I wouldn't consider that a very advanced scenario. Do we just use this parameter attribute? So little do I know about Blazor. Okay, well it'll be a while before this is totally sussed out, but let's see what it looks like at the moment. It does take a while to hot reload. All right, so now we get a little toggle there. And what we can do with the question body is we can say if gosh, this if is answer, we do that, else we show this. Yeah, I wonder if there's a similar like vshow or something we can actually just put, but that's okay. Answer. And here we'll make this answer body, and then we come down here. With a lot of duplication, let's just make it we'll call this one card body, and we'll move this into here. What kind of stuff do you guys do? Do you work as a software developer, or is that something that you would like to work at? Card question, we're going to come back to vocab. And I called this one card body. And then for the answer, just to make it different, we'll set the color here to be like a blue color, and then the card on the answer to be like a red color. So we have colors that are similar to, well, how about a green color? All right. Cool. So now we have a way to show and hide the answer. Kind of messed up the CSS there a bit. Okay, cool. We could put other stuff in there like transitions and whatnot, but I'm not that worried about it. And now I'm also missing the next question. So let's put this in a div class vocab actions. What did I call this one? Get next card. Nice. It's a good hobby to have, I would say. That's how I started as well, just as a hobby. Alright, so now we're going to make vocab actions. Nice, Rishabh. Are you using Blazor at work or just using Blazor yourself? I wonder if when I do next question, I should change the mode to question mode rather than keep it on answer mode. So when we get the next card, we set is answer to false. So we refresh that. One thing that's kind of a bummer about writing C# via or to be served up in WebAssembly is that the hot relearning is just always, seemingly I would assume, is always going to be a bit slower due to the compilation step than writing JavaScript. Alright, so if we show the answer, we go to the next question, we always get the target language instead. Alright, that's looking good. I'm going to wrap things up here in about 5 or 10 minutes, I think. What else do we have to do on the to-do list here? For one thing, we could move the table out. And in fact, maybe we don't even need to show the table. Although I like the idea of maybe later being able to create new vocabulary and then also like showing it and searching for it in a table format and then just having this page sort of be like the quiz page, if you will. So maybe before we wrap things up here, I'll create a couple more pages just to clean things up a bit. Let's add a new file. This will be called vocab list.razor. Nice, Rishabh. Blazor server. Cool. What we're going to do is put this out here. Vocab list. We'll keep our table here, but we'll get rid of all of this stuff. And then in our nav bar, we can create a nav link. Wonder if this is going to look all right. We'll move the to-do down. We'll move we'll call this one alphabet quiz. Call it Cyrillic quiz. So the app is really focused on learning Russian. So we'll move down here, we'll have a vocab list, and the href will be vocab list. Yeah, good question. When I started my YouTube channel, was I worried that I didn't have enough knowledge in development to make it? Or wasn't sure if I could make it or if I could do it? And how at all do you decide to make a channel? So that's a really good question. So there's our vocab list and there's our vocab quiz. I'll try to answer that question here in a moment. Let's get rid of this table. Okay, I think that should work. So when I started my YouTube channel, yeah, I think that I wasn't so worried that I didn't know enough. I knew enough to be able to work on some simple ideas. And I think part of the cool thing about recording yourself, I'm just gonna put a placeholder here for a minute. I think one of the do I just need curly braces around this if that's the way that it's going to work? I think one of the neat things about trying to make recordings, just talking through the things that you're building on, is you'll start to realize the things that you don't understand as well as other things. And then by talking through those things, they become more apparent, and then you just have to go figure them out. So in a sense, I think that recording videos of trying to build things just provides some motivation to uncover the things that you're uncertain about. And yeah, you don't even have to record a video for it really, if you just kind of like talk out loud as you're developing. I wanted to create a YouTube channel for development because as I was learning, I didn't really feel like there were that many great free resources for learning the types of things that I was doing at that time, which was mostly C#. I don't do as much C# and .NET stuff anymore. Obviously, I'm doing it here for this video, but that was what I was working on at the time, and what I was learning at the time, and I didn't feel like there was much in terms of great resources out there to learn those things. And so looks like I need a spiral maybe. And so I wanted to create those resources for other people who might come along and feel the same way. Not sure how well I've succeeded at that, but it's been fun. It's been a fun project nonetheless. All right, I'm going to restart the server here. Okay, the Cyrillic quiz is up here. Actually, that's the Cyrillic list that I should finish. Vocab quiz is definitely broken. I'm not sure what the syntax is just to have basic markup. Blazor markup section, which would just be razor syntax. Yeah, so I do have that. Spiral curly braces, but it still seems to be blowing up. So here it's suggesting that I don't even need that. So where else might the error be? Let's refresh here. Man, this really messes it up when I visit that page. It like freezes the whole tab. All right, so we get this. This one works. Our to-do list still works. Okay, now we're working. And we get next question. Wow, now if only I could say some of this stuff. Spasiba. That one I know. Oh, oh gosh. Be really cool if I was able to embed some MP3s here.
До свидания.
До свидания. Let me know if I'm saying that correctly, if anyone speaks Russian. До свидания. That's what it sounded like. This one's good luck, I think, but I don't remember how to say it. Удачи. Удачи. That's dog. Собака.
Собака.
Собака. Собака. Привет. So I've got enough to practice now. Russian.
Россиянин.
Россиянин. Россиянин. Ah, man. No good yet.
Улыбаться.
Улыбаться. Спасибо. Is that спасибо? No. Yeah, that is спасибо. You're welcome. Пожалуйста. 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 You're welcome. All right. That's looking good. I think I'm going to wrap things up for today. Let me know in the comments or in the chat, preferably in the comments, if you guys like this format. I realize that it's a little bit more rough around the edges than actually just building the app and recording a proper set of videos. Either way, I will be working on finishing this simple app and deploying it eventually and making a series out of it. But if you guys want to see me keep doing this kind of stuff on a live stream, I'm happy to do that, although I don't know really how beneficial it is or how interesting it is. I have a feeling it's pretty boring. So if you'd rather